Welcome back to another LinuxGameCast Weekly, the show that covers the latest Linux gaming news, reviews, how-tos, and most importantly, whatever the hell else we come up with. This week, ZSNAS is finally getting an update. As long as you can spare about Trividi, and Rocket League gets delayed again for the Linuxes. No, this is not a repeat from last month, or the one before that, or the one before that.
I'm a lumberjack and I'm okay. I sleep all night and pay exorbitant Amazon fees all day. And PT is back from the dead. And it'll go back to the dead once Konami's lawyers take a crack at it.
The Steam translation server is ablaze with outrage. Isn't it great when you poop on the volunteers that help you localize things? And Game Trailers is dead. Long live nostalgia-driven hypocrites who won't let it go.
I'm Vince Stone, here at LGC Actual, switching the bits, joined every week by a Canadian tame podcast,
Hey?
and all the way from Portugal.
Close enough.
Pedro the Elf. It's brilliant. And
Hello.
together with Chatroom Dynamic, joining us every week around 9:30 Eastern, moon time, we form that special bit known as Cocaine Voltron. Before we get started, we'd like to see what's going on in each other's life organs. What's going on this week, J-Baby?
Oh, after we're done recording this show, I get to go do deployments till 4 o'clock in the morning. That's always fun.
P-Man.
I haven't really been doing much this week. The guys from American Truck Simulator sent me a key, so I've been playing that.
All right, sounds like a plan. Over here in Vinland, I don't know if I can pick it up. If everything falls apart, blame it on Jordan.
Blame the Jews, sure.
LGC cares. I bought a D Humotron 9000, so that's in
The
an
Hum
audio
Destroyer.
It's
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
That fucked it up.
Oh, yeah, it did.
That was bad.
What do we get? A nice little spike there.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
nice little spike.
A spike.
But you know what else is taking a performance spike? It's the horse. It's our Steam.
Update.
Speaking of performance spikes, we have a new Steam beta client update for February 9th. It comes with some neat stuff, like they finally have a controller configuration utility for the Steam controller that happens outside of big picture mode. And really what it does, I tried this out, was it tries to start up big picture mode and then shrinks it to a windowed mode and then brings you to the controller configuration screen, which I suppose is better than nothing. But when the screen flickers, I'm like, shit, did something just break? No, it actually just launched big picture mode. And yeah, they have some new functionalities for Steam streaming. If you have an NVIDIA card, they're going to start using NVEnc to encode your gameplay footage and ship it off to your streaming. I guess we want to call it a sync. So that should help with the overhead on streaming your games from one PC to another, at least from the source. But will this actually impact the destination at all? I don't really think so.
Yeah, I don't exactly see how it could impact the destination or anything like that. But P-Man, there is probably one thing we could make use of with the NV encoder, right?
Yes, it is, and it's called Steam Broadcast because that is the one feature of the Steam client that currently doesn't support Linux or Mac OS. But yeah, ideally, this is their end game. It's like, oh yeah, we got NVEnc, so if you have an NVIDIA card, you can use Steam Broadcast instead of streaming to the Twitches because FFmpeg is hard. I don't know about OBS, but it's also a preferable alternative to, say, NVFBC, which is the front bus capture that just captures the raw output from the NVIDIA card directly and sends that over the network, or NVIFR, which does that, but then also adds a little compression, and it technically reduces latency, but it also introduces some artifacting when the connection isn't all that great. So, I don't know, NVEnc sounds like a good alternative, a compromise, as it will.
Yeah.
Those two.
It's nice to have some shadow play functionality, at least make it to the Linuxes without having to patch your FFmpegs and whatnot. But, you know, the blockchain is the cause of and solution to all life's problems.
It is.
Including Steam's.
Bitcoins and Steam coming soon. That is actually going to be a thing. There's a nice little updated shot of screen right there. And, well, gentlemen, lads, do you think this is going to be kind of neat, kind of bad? I'm genuinely concerned. This is supposed to be our global magic internet currency made by wizards, but are they still going to region price, J-Baby?
I mean, I would think so. I think it would just be a straight up conversion. And I mean, offering Bitcoin's not the worst idea in the world, considering there's still quite a few currencies that Steam does not support. And Bitcoin is sort of an interesting way around that. They're actually partnering with a third party. They're not handling the Bitcoin transactions themselves. But what I want to know is, where's Dogecoin?
You mean where's Kanye, right?
Oh, I didn't know you were fan of fish sticks, Pedro. Or not Pedro, Van.
Sticks. Never mind. I misheard.
This is actually just another way for Valve to line their pockets with sketchy conversion rates and pointless regional pricing, because it's going to happen. It's Valve we're talking about. They'll take every teeny tiny penny that they can find, regardless of where it comes from. But hey, we got some trucks.
Speaking of coins.
Yes.
People have been spending their coin on this.
Yep, this page you're seeing right there comes from Steam Spy. The links for everything, as usual, will be in the show notes. And apparently, American Truck Simulator has sold relatively well. It's currently at, well, it's really at 200,000 owners-ish right now at the time of recording, with about 10,000 people worth of deviation, as it were.
I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely looking at that. J-Baby, we see the sales, but what about the playtime? How does that metric?
Yeah, so if you look at the playtime on Steam Spy, I put a different value in the show notes, but currently it's sitting at 12 minutes, 38 seconds average and 8 minutes and 2 seconds median time. So it looks like people have picked this up and haven't really done much with it. What I want to see is this graph after 2 weeks, see if we're going to see a downward slope, because Steam refunds are totally a thing.
Yeah, that's not the thing, because if Steam refunds, if we take into account the Steam refunds, the people who will play the game and will go like, oh yeah, this isn't my thing. It's like 12 minutes. That's about as long as it takes the average person to finish the tutorial. So that's fine.
Oh, what about this, P-Pen? What about a lot of people that are still playing Truck Simulator and they have that ginormous log, which is a great video.
Yeah.
And they're still busy doing that. They purchased this game and they started as like, all right, it works. I'll get to it when I get done with this damn log.
Yeah, it could be that, but assuming we take what Jordan said into consideration, it's like people ask for a refund. The only people that will be left playing are the ones that actually want to play this game. And this game is a bit of a time vampire. So,
well, apparently not with an average playtime of 12 minutes. So,
yeah, that's because this is near release. So, with the people just wanting to try it and see for themselves what the game is actually about, with those people gone, we'll actually see an increase in the average time that people spend playing this game, because those people will be gone. They won't even come into the statistics.
But what I'm talking about is the money, because that's quite a number of sales and quite a number of users for, again, 12 minutes at a pop. But that being said, I think we have a bit of a translation issue, Pedro.
Purple Monkey Dishwasher.
Yes. Several different translations. So this is a bit of a kerfuffle that's been going on with the Steam translation server, namely with the Spanish team that are doing the Spanish localization for everything on Steam, from the source games that Valve released and the Steam client itself, like the store pages. Everything gets translated by volunteers, as it were. And they have a bit of a token system that you submit a translation, you spend your token, and then you have to wait. If that token gets approved, you get more tokens in return. That's kind of how it goes. I know that because I was a part of it for the Portuguese translation team for a long, long time. Now, the Spanish team is basically on strike right now because there's a Valve employee that's like the head moderator that does the final okay on all the translations. His name is Torsten Zapka, as it were.
That sounds like an orc from Shadow of Mordor. Just saying.
Yeah. And he has been harassing, lying, discrediting, and creating an oppressive / intimidating environment. Well, he's been questionable in his behavior over the past couple of months. And the Spanish team they've basically all banded together and said, no, we're not taking any more of this bullshit. And, having been a part of the Steam translation server for almost a year, until the Portuguese head moderator kind of went AWOL and my account was eventually suspended because I was waiting for approval on the entire 100 and something tokens that I had spent on translating game store pages and actual game things. My account was suspended due to inactivity while I was waiting for those tokens to be approved.
That's definitely a thing. I'm just not a huge fan of using a token system. When I heard about Valve using a token system, I said, that is a fantastic way to kill quality in favor of quantity. J-Man.
When has Valve really been a fan of quality aside from their first-party products? Even the Steam client, they leave bugs wide open until they start becoming issues like massive security flaws.
Well, let's talk about another issue, and that issue might be Rocket League, because it's coming to Xbox One on February 17th, but Odelerto, if that is his real name, made a mention. He said, didn't you lot say that the Mac and Linux version will come out before the Xbone version? And it's like, we said that. Unfortunately, we're a little behind schedule on that, and guys, you lot need to pull a summer and get your shit together, okay? You've never developed a game that has printed money. And just but we've helped with a bunch of other games and contributed. Yes, but you have not developed a game yourself that has printed money. This game prints money. Hire someone to get this done and just be done with it, because last month it was well, Steam's doing the port, now you're doing the port again. Who the fuck knows? UE3, Unreal Engine 3, is not Moon technology, and it doesn't take it to get it up and running on Linux.
Well, you can just give Ryan C. Gordon some of that money that you're printing. But it's not surprising. We've seen a ton of games that have dumped Linux and Mac support in favor of more lucrative console deals. The Grand Nagus would be proud, but he's not here. This isn't Plan Ferengi. This is Earth. We're pissed. And I'm actually curious, if this thing ever gets released, I would love these guys to release some sort of postmortem as to what the fuck they did to make this thing so problematic to port to something that UE3 actually does support. Because Iculus spent a lot of time and effort.
They developed it as a Windows-only game. That's what went wrong.
It didn't stop Raven's cry.
Seeing as the game released in July 2015, it was in early access for a couple of months before that, so it's probably safe to assume that development started at, around mid-2013 up until the end, somewhere in that time frame. By that time, Steam for Linux was already a thing. Still, they chose to develop it solely for Windows. The issues this is my, speculation here. The issues that the porting teams ran into were probably the result of dirty hacks that they had to pull in order to get Unreal Engine 3 to behave when it comes to this specific genre of a game. Because, let's face it, the Unreal Engine 3 was probably never designed for a driving / football game.
The Unreal Engine 3 doesn't seem to be designed for a lot of things, as we'll see in the chair acquisition.
Well, speaking of Unreal 3.
Oh, yes. So, if you are noticing some performance hits on your XCOMs or your other UE3 games, this lovely user on the Steam forums have posted some black magic skullduggery to supposedly improve your performance. Now, our resident Unreal Engine 3 expert, Ryan C. Gordon Iculus, had something to say about that.
Yeah, man. I was reading that, and I was like, yo, G-Money, what's up? And he was like, some of that is definitely Peswaydo science bullshit, but I'm not surprised some of these things work. And I was like, all right, G-Money, see, click.
Yeah.
And I guess try it, but you'll have a thing in the notes to where you can play with it.
Yeah. If it's not in a similar location to the Windows version, I have a path in the show notes. It's .local share your company game.
But P-Man, you found
something engine
more comprehensive guide, right?
Yeah, it's not a more comprehensive guide. It simply includes every single Unreal Engine 3 game ever, for the most part. And this comes from the PC Gaming Wiki. They've actually made a page for the Unreal Engine, and they have some general tweaks that you can do at the bottom of the page. But if you want to go on a game by game basis, all you have to do is look at that table, and if the game you want isn't listed there, all you have to do is click that link that says further results, and you'll get every single Unreal Engine 3 game that ever showed up on the internet. And
what? All of them?
Basically, yeah. And the guys that have been contributing to the PC Gaming Wiki have been doing a very good job with it. So if you go there and you find what you're looking for and you know something else that might improve that, especially for Linux, because a couple of those games are actually missing some of the Linux C bits, you might want to contribute.
Definitely a your mileage may vary type of thing. But coming up next, Oculus has EVGA has a new dongle thing you can stick in your 5 1/4 inch bay. That is not an innuendo.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for some good old Linuxy news. And in true LGC tradition, we start with some drivers. Well, it's not AMDs this time. It's NVIDIA's. They have released the 361.28 Linuxy drivers, and they've done some fuckery this time, haven't they, Jordan?
Yes. So in the last drivers they released, they started supporting GL-NVD, which is the OpenGL vendor neutral distribution, meaning that instead of having all this functionality that sort of kind of exists in the NVIDIA driver, it'll allow you to get away with some shitty OpenGL code. Now they're actually enforcing proper OpenGL. And of course, because programmers don't actually like doing things to spec and like their dirty hacks, a bunch of programs broke. And so lots of source games, anything using threaded optimizations for OpenGL. So now by default,
seriously, man, there's no way around that. I mean, you're just stuck.
Not really. No, like I was saying, there's a command line switch to ensure that you install the there's by default now it installs the legacy drivers, but they are recommending that everyone switch over to the GL-NVD, which you can enable through a command line option in the driver installer because they want people to standardize on the proper OpenGL implementation.
Yeah, and the problem with that is that every single source game, every single Valve game that's currently out on Steam is outright broken with the GLVN driver. The only way to actually get them to work is if you do the _GLVND _disallow _patching = 1.
All this is in the show notes for your lovely reference, folks.
That's definitely a thing. Hopefully it's sorted because I got an update to my handbrakes, and I didn't get around this week to updating because I had to regress because we're playing a game that required me to regress because reasons. And handbrake doesn't play well with the latest NVIDIA sauce. Hopefully that's sorted. I am definitely going to try that out, but let's talk about some Googles.
Oh, yes. EVGA. This is from our pals at PC Perspective. Scott Machado is in his chat realm right now. Did he write this article? Yes, he did. So he's going to call me on any inaccuracy I say. So Scott Machado has admitted that he is a pedophile in this article.
Shut the.
No. So this is about EVGA's new 980 Ti VR edition. What is it? Well, it's a regular 980 Ti, but it comes with a neat little 5 1/4 inch bay that has 2 USB 3.0 ports and an HDMI out for your Oculuses or your HTC Vive La Frances. And this is a thing for your front panel. And RIP any box that has a door on their front panel because it's going to get torn off by your dangling Oculus. I guarantee it.
Hey, man. At least this is a way to
I just want to say what Jordan said about Scott was a complete joke. All right.
Complete joke. We love you, Scott. I'm busting your balls. Just a little joke.
All right.
cool.
But yeah, this is at least a way to make use of those 5.25-inch bays in the age of non-physical media, because I remember, or I thought I remembered, the Oculus minimum requirements, but Ven corrected me on that one, and you need at least 2 USB 3.0s, which they include. I thought it was 3, but you only actually need 4 if you have both the hand thingies and the external trackers for the Oculus. That's when you need 4. So, yeah, my bad on that one.
Even with the bay options and all that nasty bits plugged up front, Jordan, will this still solve that small problem with the latest generation of VR that people are not going to like wearing shit on their heads for prolonged periods?
It really won't. At most, this thing gets you for an additional $50 for about $5. You then guessed $5. I still say that's being generous. For like an extra $50, you get a front-facing dangly bit that allows you to plug your stuff into the front of your computer for ease of access. Really, save yourself $50, buy yourself a proper 980 Ti, and deal with shit plugged in the back.
All right, well, let's talk about some lumberjacking.
Oh, yes. So, CryEngine is in the shitter, and it's Amazon to the rescue. And they have come out with this Lumberyard, which is Amazon's game development engine. That is basically CryEngine with some added AWS and Twitch integration. You get your streaming for free. I don't actually know what the AWS integration is. It's probably a lot of CloudWatch metrics, maybe some dynamically generated game servers for multiplayer, content caching through S3 maybe, or maybe they're going to include some sort of remote processing stuff for lower end systems, because CryEngine is a bit heavy on the older box, and so I don't know. It's
also a bit spite-nopey when you think about it, but I'm definitely looking forward to the first blog post titled "How My Small Indie Game Cost Me 20,000 Wet Steam Caches and AWS Fees." But P-Man, you got to check out the acceptable use policy here. But that's
yes. You see, they actually went out of their way to include the zombie clause, as it were, and they basically said that if the CDC or the government declare that the United States is basically under a zombie apocalypse, you can technically use this engine to run stuff like unmanned drones or really anything. But
Pedro,
one bit that Jordan...
Pedro?
You a little hungover there?
No. Did Nori hit you again when we were not on the camera?
Sack full of oranges, man.
In any case, the bit that Jordan mentioned about remote processing, that would actually make sense because Amazon was developing an Android console at some point that we never really heard of any further than it's in development. But yeah, if you take that into account, it makes sense.
Well, Jordan, we can all just rush over and download the Linux version, right?
Oh, yeah, no. It's supporting Linux eventually, which is basically what the Star Citizen guys have been saying for years at this point. But up next,
ZNAS, oh my ZNAS, or ZNAS, whatever you want to call it. The developers behind ZSNAS will soon be charging money for the latest version. Wow.
How long has this thing been free for? Because I remember downloading this shit in the early 2000s.
It's been open source forever. actually, to tell you how up to date this currently is, it's still hosted on SourceForge. Think about that. Put that in your brain organ. But
SourceForge got that out recently.
Yeah, my first thought genuinely was, is this thing genuinely still being developed? Immediately followed by something along of just manic laughter and good luck with that, little buddy, because you're basically taking like the third tier SNAS simulator and be like, yeah, we're going to charge for it. That business model, right, P-Man?
No. You see, that Reddit thread should have been named "The Dev Behind ZSNAS Will Soon Be Irrelevant."
Show title.
In the emulator scene, because from the moment that you go, oh yeah, that thing that used to be open source and free for anyone to use is now going to be paid, that makes you irrelevant and the butt of jokes for all eternity, basically. So
So I personally have only used SNES 9X. That was what I settled on when I was looking for SNES emulators back in the day. But here's the thing: number one, you can download old versions of this thing because it has been available since the dawn of time. Number two, how quickly are people going to fork this into?
All right, here's exactly what I was about to say. My first thought was like, well, I mean, you can stick a fork in it, but you got to think. It was like everyone's like, that thing. No, nobody wants to fork that. I mean, it's antiquated by today's standards.
The only thing I could think of is adding support for newer gamepads as they come out.
Maybe newer gamepads. I mean, this actually had a lot of love back in the DOS ages because, I mean, it could basically run on a Cracker and an Amiga or anything like that. But today, nope, don't care. Anyway, scare me.
Oh, yeah, this is a neat little student project someone from Calgary put together. This is PT done entirely in Unity. Now, for those of you who don't have a PlayStation 4 or just don't pay attention to horror games, oh, God damn it, stay down. All right. PT, or Playable Test, was a sort of a spoiler for the new Silent Hill game that was going to come out before Konami decided they wanted to get out of the video game business and double down on the pachinko machine business. But the neat thing was, this was Guillermo del Toro of Hellboy and the Strain fame joining forces in like a Voltron-esque, sort of a, not a cocaine Voltron, but some sort of Japanese narcotic Voltron for horror games with Hideo Kojima of Metal Gear Solid. And Daryl Dixon from Walking Dead was going to be in it too. But now it got pulled, and someone decided to recreate the levels, and they've gone a little further. And have actually started recreating parts of the demo. It's available on Unity. It runs like ass, but he did a pretty good job of modeling everything.
And putting everything absolutely where it just threw that in chat realm because you might want to yoink this sooner than later because it's probably not going to be around very long.
It's going to go away,
It's like that Super Mario 64 that was developed in like UE4 or Unity or something like that.
It was Unity, yeah.
Yeah, grab it while you can because this is not going to be online for much longer. But you know what? It's time to take off our hats and our pants and pay respects.
Well, speaking of dead things.
Yes, Game Trailers is dead. Long live people who cannot just let it go for once. But yeah, to be fair, they did a pretty dick move when it came to announcing that Game Trailers was dead because the employees of the company did not hear that that they were actually going out of business until the same time that everyone else in the world did. Yeah, Game Trailers is dead. They used to be the go-to place when it comes to video game media in video format, as it were.
Well, I mean, ultimately, when I'm thinking about it, man, I mean, I remember looking at this like back before the YouTubes were really a thing. And I mean, it was a place for like the 5 games that we got every decade on the Linux. I was like, oh, let's look at a trailer. YouTube killed it. Not ad block, as you were about to say, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. They started back in 2002, and around 2012, that's when YouTube gaming as a thing kind of took off. But there were some adblock aiders like Total Biscuit that claimed that people using adblock cut into Game Trailers as revenue, and well, that was basically the axe that killed the company. Personally, I think that most people nowadays don't really care about Game Trailers. They had 2 shows that I personally did not hate, which was The Final Bossman and Baddest Games, the latter of which died off long ago, and I can only hope that the Bossman guy actually goes to Patreon and continues their work, because that's a pretty awesome show. As far as I'm concerned, it was a good time to cut their losses and just nuke it. Let it go with dignity.
Like you said, well, actually, like you didn't say and I said in the notes, motherfucker.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, finding out on social media that you lost your job is, I can only think of one thing, J-Baby.
It seems like their corporate culture was not, in fact, bird culture, because that was a pretty big dick move. Oof.
Oof. But you know what's not a dick move?
What was that, Ven?
whoring for money. I mean,
Well, are you telling me that you can go to patreon.com/LinuxGameCast or linuxgamecast.com/support the shows and to throw money at us so that we can dance naked in front of our cameras every Saturday night?
that's the other Patreon.
Oh,
I'm pretty
shit,
sure
right.
that last one doesn't.
Right, that's for the other cocainevoltron.org .xxx. No, but it's brilliant. You can go over to our Patreon page, or if you don't like Patreon, we got PayPal links and Amazon affiliate links, which you should totally use because it doesn't cost you anything. But if you feel like tossing us some shekels, check out patreon.com. We have 3 more weeks of Linux Weekly Daily Wednesday from the last month. And if you want to see more of it, if you like watching that train wreck, because dear Lord, it is a train wreck.
It is a train wreck. We did our first beta episode. I want to thank Mr. Foxdog. He's helped us out with a super sparkly cowboy boot, lackady hairdo type intro. I haven't looked at it yet.
Wizards.
Yeah, absolute blender. But he's in Space Australia, so I mean, we're going to have to flip the video right set up. And it's awesome of him. We got some lower thirds and all that. We're definitely going to make a show out of it. It is currently only available in beta for our Patreons until we get some things.
It's like Overgrowth. It's forever in early access.
I know you're going to hate me. You're going to be screaming when I completely forgot your name, and I shouldn't. But you wrote in one of the comments, and you're like, hey, can we get an audio version? I'm going to manually go through and attach an audio version for everyone, just in case you want to put that on your Zune or your Diamond Rio. So that's definitely a thing. What's coming up next, Jay Baby?
Coming up next, we stutter our way through XCOM 2, and we wait and wait and wait for the Chairquisition. It's more Aliens. It's XCOM 2 from Firaxis and Feral Interactive on the Unreal Engine 3.5. And unlike D&D 3.5, there's no big improvement over 3.0 here. You can pick it up for $60 US, 50 euros, or 80 wet, stinky, filthy Canadian fuck you dollars. And what is it? XCOM is the sequel to the award-winning strategy game XCOM Enemy Unknown. 20 years have passed since humanity lost the war against the alien invaders, and a new world order exists on Earth run by Mexicans. After years of working in the shadows, XCOM forces must rise and eliminate the alien occupation. So you're playing terrorists. Yeah. Basically. So let's kick off the Chairquisition. We got our category, or we got 1 chair equals blah, 2 chairs equals meh, 3 chairs equals pretty good, and 4 chairs equals amazing. Categories of Doom mixed with the working. Shiny sounds, controls, and fun. I completely butchered that. It's because I'm under the mental influence of aliens. Ben, let's kick this off. Make with the working.
All right, over here on the Ubuntu 1404 LTS, 8150 powered, 4K displayed with an extra 980 sauce tied in.
Take a shot.
It technically runs. Air quotes. I'm sorry, air quotes. Let's put that in there. It genuinely does hang on the turns to the point of like wondering if the game froze. Like you're like, is it? Oh, there it goes. All right, that's the thing. And speaking of that, we played a little bit of multiplayer. J-Man's going to get into that a bit more than me, but the multiplayer hanging between turns makes that look like the fuck mothering Flash. I mean, it does. It's like, what is this thing doing? You have no idea. Then you got to think about load times. All I can say about that is, wow. Really? What? You have time. Not to make a cup of tea, but you can prepare a cup of tea and put it in your fucking microwave and set it and come back and like,
when you complete your turn, you can go fetch the cup of tea, and by the time you come back,
it's about that. And one other thing with the mix with the working is sometimes the camera will focus on an empty area of the map while the aliens are making with the moving, and that's not exactly helpful, Brad. So it's not busted, but it's only 2 chairs worth.
So under normal circumstances on the Fedora 22 powered Intel i7 6700K with the NVIDIA GTX 980 at the 4K, which don't even bother trying to play this game at 4K. Just don't. You're gonna have a bad time. So I would give it normally 3 chairs, but then just because of the choppiness, the general bugs, not that much to detract from the overall experience, but they're still there and they should still be accounted for in said chair acquisition. But you lose an additional chair because the multiplayer. Ven and I sat down yesterday to, see if the multiplayer worked, and I mean, it functions sort of kind of when it's not noping to your desktop or failing to connect.
We were at the point of, if this one doesn't work, we're just going to give up.
Yeah. And eventually it did work, sort of.
Air quotes.
But yeah, so by the time I finished my turn, Ven had to wait like 5 minutes, and then he saw my movements. He had to wait another 2 minutes, and then he could go. And this was back and forth. And if you watch this, if you're a Patreon subscriber, you're probably going to be able to see this. It gets pretty bad. We get pretty annoyed. And the other thing, pro tip. If you're tired of waiting after you complete a mission, just hit caps lock because it will immediately close that loading screen. I don't know why that's the case, but it is. It gets 2 chairs. Oof.
Yeah, at this point, I suppose the only thing I can add is that the game didn't really ever crash for me. On the Fedora 2364-bit FX 8370E with the GTX 970, never really crashed. Like Ven, I did find myself wondering whether or not the game had hard noped at several points, but it always eventually came back. One thing to note is that out of the 8 cores of the FX 8370E, it pegged one of them at 100%. 6 of them were somewhere between 20 and 40%, and there was always one not doing a damn thing. It was always idle. Feral, what the hell? 2 chairs.
Yeah, you'd figure they have learned to AMD after the whole Alien Isolation thing, but
yeah,
2 chairs for makes with the working. Up next is the Shinny and the Sounds. Ben.
All right, granted, it looks better than XCOM Enemy Unknown, but not that much better. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, since XCOM EU looked a bit of all right. The first thing you might notice is daylight in my XCOM. Who would have thought? That's kind of refreshing. Yay, hashtag on that business. The maps are still hella detailed, and that goes double for the playable soldiers. Speaking of, they have put the uncanny Valiotron on 11 in this game. I mean, it's like spirits within, like woogie boogie. And I was like, good job. I like that. However, Jordan is going to cry about the overall aesthetics of the game, but considering the aliens curb-checked old Mother Jassoom, it actually kind of fits. It's XCOM, baby, so you know the audio is going to be top-notch, along with that voice talent. I dig it, even though I have to dig it very slowly and kind of jerky, it's still going to get 4 chairs.
Yeah, I mean, much of what Fed said. The voice acting is, consistent with XCOM 1, which was top-notch. The level design is about the same. The customization for your characters has just been ramped up to 11. My God, this is some Skyrim level shit in terms of customization. And that was pretty impressive. Plus, they have this neat little thing that lets you share your squaddies. So I can have a Pedro McBullet Sponge or a Mama Stone. But yeah, as for my complaint, I like the visual aesthetic of XCOM 1 better. It's the Unreal Engine 3.5 kind of griminess. Everything seems just extra, black lines and whatnot. It's super racist. I'll give it 3 chairs though.
Yeah, with 3.5, they've definitely made it slightly more realistic, as it were. And I guess that explains some of the griminess that Jordan has an issue with. The frame rate issues aside, this is a very good looking game. On my end, it didn't really matter whether I had the game on ultra or the very lowest settings, because the most that I'd ever get while I was on a mission was like 48 frames a second. So, I mean, graphics are pretty good. The characters still look like they fell face first into the Uncanny Valley, but that's what I've come to expect out of XCOM. The sounds, it's a very good sounding game. The voice acting is great, as usual, and albeit limited, because, hey, where the hell are the Portuguese voice sets? The choice of voice sets that you can actually pick for your characters are pretty damn well done. They are. with the exceptions of the missing ones. At this point, I wouldn't even have, complained if there were only Brazilian Portuguese voice sets. I would have been okay with that. Just a little bit more variety. No, you got English, Spanish, Russian, Polish, and a couple of others. You get really nothing else. So, can only get 3 chairs from me.
All right, so that's 3 chairs for the shiny and the sands. Up next is Control. Then, did it change from XCOM?
It didn't. If you know XCOM, same deal. And these two yahoos are going to be like, oh my god, it did work. Shrug emoticon, everything worked. I mean, I wouldn't imagine playing XCOM with anything other than a keyboard and gerbil, and it just worked. Out of the box, no issues with it, with a possible exception of maybe you're going to have some issues getting it synced properly with your Nintendo Power Pad, but 4 chairs for that all day long.
Yeah, so everything is the same as XCOM 1, as was mentioned, but they made a pretty big deal in the advertising campaign for this. Oh, this game plays awesome with the Steam controller. You can get one for 40% off if you buy it with XCOM 2. So, I bought myself a Steam controller ages and ages ago, and I decided to give that a shot. And I figured this will probably last about 20 minutes, and I was right. Flip keyboard over, try and hit the Spock button, realize Nimoy is dead, find the other keyboard with the nope button, slam on that, and let the satellite Ken vaporize me and take me out of my misery. Just nope. I mean, like, the various, like, areolas and whatnot are mapped to what you would expect, except the sensitivity is jacked way the fuck up. And this is... And, like, right and left click are using the trigger buttons, which is the stupidest idea. Just use the face buttons. It would make a lot more sense. Guys, if you're going to say that the Steam controller makes this game playable from your couch, make sure that the recommended 4-axis config, which I used, actually works, because it don't. But beyond that, that's only enough to ding it 1 chair. I was going to be meaner and ding it 2, but I changed my mind, so it gets 3.
Yeah, every time I started this game, I could hear a in the background, and I started wondering, what the hell is that? Yeah, it turns out if I had the NVIDIA Shield controller plugged in, it would actually pick up on it and assume that it had one of the axes constantly pressed down. That was not okay, and after unplugging the NVIDIA Shield controller and trying to play the game, more than once did I click to move a character to what the game told me it would only take a single, action point. And the moment I clicked it, I would hear the character saying double time or running, and my turn would be over. It's like, what? At that point, I could have actually, assumed that it was my noobishness if I hadn't played XCOM Enemy Unknown or Enemy Within, but I did all the way through. That's not really the case. Something is very wrong with the way that this game indicates whether or not you're taking 1 turn or 2 turns. The feedback is outright busted. I don't know why, but for some reason, whenever I thought that I was taking 1 turn, I was actually taking 2. So it can only get 2 chairs when it comes to the controls.
That's 3 chairs. One other thing to note is that the mission select and the stalling UI has significantly changed. The barracks and whatnot have been the same, but the new UI is a little bit confusing, especially from the outset, coming right off of XCOM 1. But that's a wee irrelevant. Finally, we got our fun category, then. I see you missed the points.
All right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's XCOM 2. So if you enjoyed the first one, you're going to find this one a bit of all right as well. It introduces a neat stealth mechanic that, when it works, allows you to set up some straight-up traps of nope. It's glorious. Again, when it works. New tech, mech suits, drones, and brain hacking. What's not to love? Well, there's a couple of things, Brad. Aliens still get free movement when discovered, and that's bullshit, has always been bullshit, and will continue to be just that.
It's not the case in multiplayer either.
Now, on the top of topic of bullshit before I'm so rudely interrupted. Most of my soldiers' eulogies read something along the lines of, grabbed by a snake, killed by a bug. Seriously, vipers can straight up grab your ass through walls. That is when they're not busy dragging you under the mothering map. But at least you can defend yourself, right? Question mark, he says, baby. Well, that might be trickier than you think, since all available soldiers consist of rejects who flunked out of the Empire's accuracy proficiency training program. Seriously, F-at. Even if you do manage to nope your target, don't get too excited, because this game loves surprise skull fuckings. Not your standard run-of-the-mill difficulty enhancement shite. Oh, heavens no. This is straight up one move away from the target when 2 rando baddies show up and one-shot your 2 remaining characters, because fuck you, and that's why. However, busted as it is, I've still managed to pump 9+ arms into it. And that fuckery aside, it's still a proper bit of fun. Well, if you don't mind paying 59 wet stinky cashes for what is essentially an early access title. So, I'm going to have to give it 2 chairs with an asteroid.
Now, of course, we have to reiterate that Feral is not responsible for making this game sing. They're given a code base and they're told, make this work on Mac and Linux. So from that perspective, they've done their job, albeit to some degree of success. As for the fun, it definitely has the same time sink factor that XCOM and Me Unknown / Within has. I mean, I staying at work late this week, I was grinding my teeth. He's like, God damn it, I want to go home and play some XCOM 2. Like, it took me a little while to get into it coming off of XCOM 1, but once you start getting going, you like, yes, must do more missions. Oh, wait, it's midnight. I need to go sleep so I can function as a human being tomorrow. And they've added some new added depth stuff, like the stealth aspect. That's pretty nice. The one thing that bothers me, though, is there's only one class that actually allows you to retain stealth after one of your dudes has been exposed, because they're apparently prescient psionics, as once they see one of your guys, they see all of your guys. Mm-hmm. There is your standard bullshit for turn-based strategy. A lot of the rescue missions and the retaliation stuff is like, go run out in the open and get your guys shot 15 billion times to rescue some civilians, because otherwise you're not going to make any money and you're going to die. And the game eventually just turns into fighting a countdown clock. Every month these guys get a little square on their bar of doom, and you got to take action to ensure that goes down, or else you just lose. End of story. Bye-bye.
Yep.
And yeah, I mean, like Vin said, the skull fuckings aren't fun, but you know, that's what autosave is for. You can go back and know better. These guys are anti-save scum. I'm totally that guy. I'm unapologetic about that. I don't give a fuck. And goddamn, those UFO missions, you better fucking run away from them or you are fucked. But all said and done, I enjoyed it. I'm going to keep playing it. I'm going to give it 3 chairs.
Yeah, like Jordan mentioned, those UFO missions, seriously, fuck those. If you get the chance to do one of those Advent missions that counteract the UFO thing, pick that one. Seriously, you do not want to do that mission. That's basically the point where I stopped playing. I was like 8 hours in, and I could not for the life of me play anymore, because as far as I'm concerned, there's an awesome game in XCOM 2. It's buried deep inside all of the performance issues and everything. It's buried down there somewhere, but when it comes down to it, you're digging through layers and layers of shitty performance and non-optimization. It's I don't know. In a way, this kind of bullshit sort of makes me wish that parallel computing had become a thing instead of the single core worship that we have going on nowadays. Because instead of actually having multi-threading, no, guess what? Games will spawn a job on one thread and say, you get to take that thread. Okay, that thread's kind of taken up now, so the other thread now gets another job. That's single core computing at its finest, and that's what this game does. And that's what makes those load times be so excruciatingly big, except that if you hit the caps lock button while you're waiting for one of those you're waiting to go back to your home base, or you're waiting for the mission to start. If you hit caps lock, oh hey, the load tiding's over. What the hell? How did that happen? I don't know. Maybe you can blame Feral for that. Maybe you can actually blame Firaxis. Firaxis has kind of had...
That's a thing on the Windows version, too.
Yeah, the Firaxis kind of had a spotty history when it comes to Windows ports of games. And they've always come out... Well, they haven't come out optimized. That's basically it.
So if you had to give us the chairs on fun...
If I have to give it the chairs on fun, I can only give it 2 because I can't, for the life of me, keep playing it at this point.
That's brilliant. 2 chairs for fun with an asteroid on there. So if we tally all that up, we get 2 chairs with an asteroid for the final score. Vin, I think you put it rather succinctly in the final thoughts section.
Well, to reiterate what you said, I mean, I think Feral did a perfect job of getting this ported to Linux. Unfortunately, what they were given to port is essentially an early access title that is not ready.
Busted.
Yeah, I mean, you know it's a good port when you go and read the Windows players, like, and you're like, yeah, I'm having all the exact same issues. It's like, I'm not having worse issues. I'm having those exact issues. Good job, Feral.
Consistency.
I actually genuinely mean that. I mean, you guys did a very solid port of... which is essentially not a very good game yet. But what I want to say as a final thought is this game is going to be wicked sick a year from now. P-Man?
Yeah, a year from now, when they finally sorted all of the non-optimizations and all the performance bullshit that's been going on. Because that is the really big complaint about this game. If you look at their Steam forums, it's every other thread. People are going, oh yeah, the performance is shit. Yeah.
All right.
No shit.
Wow. I mean, the original XCOM had some issues too, and time sorted that out. So I agree. I still had fun playing it. I would recommend, if you're a fan of turn-based strategy and you were waiting for this game, pick it up. You won't regret it. Just be aware. Caveat emptor.
But I mean, come on. I mean, it's like 80 Canadian dollars.
It is 80 Canadian dollars, which is a bit insane, but that's because our exchange rate has gone to the toilet. But speaking of toilets, up next is our hate mail segment, and it's time to get flushed.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's time for some hate mail. And considering how late it is, I'm pretty drunk. But if you'd like to get in touch with us, you know what to do. LinuxGameCast.com, contact button, fill out the form. It's easy. If you're trying to promote your game, if you don't send us some keys or a playable build then that we can futz around with, we're going to make fun of you. Sound fair? All right. So what do we have up this week?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
So this is from Eric H. And he's talking about the show, and he says, we were talking last week about how we very rarely miss shows. And this guy asks, Ben, if your favorite band came to town on a Saturday night, when would you record the show? To which I replied, if Ben's favorite band was playing a live show Saturday night, I'd be a bit concerned, because Zombie Pete Steele does not fuck around. He's got bigger problems than recording Linux Gamecast. Apparently
that
it's The Walking
kind of
Dead.
implies zombies exist.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Walking Dead.
Did it? It's a joke. I actually replied back even on the Patreon page, patreon.com/LinuxGameCast, shameless plug. I'll tell you exactly what I would do. I would fucking bring a lappy with me and set it up backstage, because we don't miss the show unless AT&T cares. And when I mean AT&T cares, that they upgrade my plan and my Moon modem device, which they did for that one show we missed. But coming up next.
Up next, we have Alva saying, hello, we have released Magitory, a narrative trivia in which your answers determine the fate of the characters, and would be delighted if you played it. Magitory is available for Linux and also Windows, Mac, and Android for free from our website, and which is basically just an itch.io page.
Wait,
if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact.
Don't we all?
Yeah. So I tried to download this game. I couldn't for the life of me actually get a proper download. All I would get is a 0-byte zip file. How about you guys?
Full disclosure, I didn't even fucking bother downloading it. So.
I completely forgot that was a thing. But, props to them for referring to it as Windows as opposed to PC. That's always good.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty good. Assuming this was a trivia game and that they actually watched the live stream and they see us playing a lot of not Giggle Feud, Google Feud.
It turns into Giggle Feud pretty quickly.
Yeah, it does turn into Giggle Feud pretty quickly. But yeah, this is assuming they watched the after show where we play some Google Feud. And, I was kind of curious. Okay, all right. So you watch the after show. We know that we play some Giggle Feud. So I'm going to try your game, but I could not.
Well, maybe it's going to be a thing. They're currently on Greenland. Maybe we might even, during the after show, try to give it a download. But on that giggling bombshell, let's cue the music, because you can always find us around 9:30 Eastern Standard Moon Time. It's going to be brilliant. I'm at Vinstone, cleverly disguised on the Twitter nets, at Vinstone plus Vinstone on the G+.
I'm Jordan Svung. You can find me at Burning Fool on Twitter, plus Jordan Svung on the Google Plus.
Yeah, that was the joke. Giggle Feud. Get it? I am Pedro Mateos. You can always find me at Unaccounted For on Twitter or plus Pedro Mateos on Google Plus.
And just remember, at the end of the day, beautiful people, remind Jordan not to break the pager unit halfway through the fucking show, okay?
I can't do the Muttley laugh. I'm sorry. I disappointed you guys. I'm a failure.
And did you? LGC Cares.